Well, welcome, ladies. I am so excited to be here with two of Flint's best-known water warriors, right? So, Mayor, I'd like to start with you. It's been 3 years now since I think it's pretty safe to say that the country as a whole was shocked to hear that your city, your citizens, had been drinking for more than a year water that was a year and a half, right? Lead contaminated. When the source of your water was switched to the Flint River. Talk to us about how things are going now. How is it going replacing these lead service pipes?
You know, and that was our goal, because for 18 months before the rest of the country found out we were drinking lead-poisoned water, we knew something was wrong. So we were really glad when the media got a hold of that and let people know what was going on in the city of Flint. As a result, we had 18 to 20,000 pipes that had been identified as high priority that needed to get addressed. Either make sure they were copper to copper, or if they were lead or galvanized, get replaced. And so we decided that we were going to do that over a 3-year period. That was our goal, 6,000 pipes each year for 3 years.
How's that going?
And it's going, actually it's going really, really well, and we are very much ahead of schedule. We have less than 150 pipes to look at. So if the weather holds out in Flint, Michigan, we could get done by the end of the year, but we know we'll be done before the end of next year. So that's a wonderful thing for us.
Mari, tell us about how you found out that your water in Flint was contaminated. I mean, you were, I guess, 7 when this started, right? What did you notice first?
I noticed that the water smelled very, very, very bad, like it smelled like bleach, and that my little sister had got a very bad rash to the point where we had to put this special lotion on her and then wrap her inside this special plastic wrap because her skin was really breaking out really, really, really bad.
And so I mean, a lot of people would say, well, I'm just a kid. What can I do about this? But you decided you could do something, and you said, hey, Mom, I want to go to this congressional hearing 12 hours away in Washington. And then you wrote the president to say, hey, I'm coming. And then he reaches out to you later and says, well, I think I'm going to come to Flint, Mari, and I'm going to meet you. I mean, what did you think about that?
I was amazed. Like, I was just in total shock. Because when okay, so, like, I'm not allowed to tell you this, but, like.
Tell me, what?
Okay, so, when I was at the 3rd grade, I see my mom walking down the hallway. I thought, oh, she's probably just coming to watch me or coming to pick me up or something like that. Then she walked to my classroom. Then all I see is these camera people coming behind her, and I'm like, okay, what's going on? And then she was like, you're not gonna believe this, but President wants to come and meet you. And that's when they all started rushing in, and that's when everybody started like, oh my gosh! And that's when I was like,
Wow. Well, so he came and visited. Did his visit help? Did it help Flint?
It kind of did.
How? What happened? What was different after that?
I mean, nothing. Okay, some things have changed, but some haven't.
What's changed?
That the state isn't giving out free water anymore.
Oh. You're worried about that? Let me ask the mayor about that. I know that's something the state stopped back in June, but let's talk in general about this relationship, or shall I say face-off you're having currently with the state. I mean, in October, they issued a consent order basically kind of trying to take over the operation of your water system. They said that they have unresolved, they said the water quality is doing better and fine, and right, they praise that, but they said they have concerns with unresolved, quote, long-term technical and managerial issues. Help us understand what's going on.
That's what they said, and that was really interesting to me. I said, because you put us in this situation, and then you want to punish us for the situation you put us in, and I'm not signing any water back over to the state. So we've been fussing about that, and It's been interesting. It's been interesting whether it's been about that, and they're saying how we have not been in compliance with certain things. And I said, wow. I said, how do you blame us for the situation? I said, that's like saying you took my clothes and then you want to arrest me for indecent exposure. I said, that's what you're doing. I said, and that is not going to happen. We have been in compliance. Tell me where we haven't, and they have not been able to do that. When
What
we
about
get
they
behind
took
closed
issue
doors.
with one of the method that you're using?
The
I
method
guess,
we're
to
using, yes.
correct the pipes, because they say it's too expensive and it's not as accurate as
And
a
you know
method you were
what?
using in the past.
You're right. And when they say too expensive, I get angry all over again because that's what got us in this situation. They put cost over the health and well-being of a community of 100,000 people. And that's how we got here, because they figured we weren't worth $100 a day for corrosion control. That's what got us in this mess. And so they wanted, and they're using Flint as a model for the rest of the state as far as changing lead and galvanized pipes. And so hydro excavation is it's less expensive and it's quicker. But one of the things,
Hydro-excavation is
open up a hole. And so what happened was we'd open up a hole and you look and you say, oh, that's a copper pipe, you can leave it. And they'd mark it CC, copper to copper.
and it was 2 by 3, so it
Right.
wasn't a big hole.
And one of the contractors didn't see that and opened it up and found out that was where they had repaired it, and it was really a lead service line. And that's why we said, wait a minute. So when we went back, we found we were missing homes.
So now you're doing 8 by 10.
So we're
holes.
doing.
I mean, that's
we're
a big
doing,
hole. Okay.
Exactly, because the plumbers have told us that are out there saying you're going to miss some doing hydro excavation. So we had a street that was identified in a newer neighborhood. They said this block should be copper to copper. We checked. 7 of the homes in a row were copper to copper, and then we had 3 that weren't. And one of the things we said is every life in the city of Flint is important. If we're going to get the lead out, let's do it right. If it costs more, too bad, because we can put a cost on infrastructure. People have said, what does it cost? We can always put a cost on infrastructure, but we can't put a cost on the lives of the people and the toll that this has taken, whether it's been kids and pregnant women that have been exposed to the lead and drinking the lead poisoned water, whether it's the lives we've lost as a result of Legionnaires, whether we're talking about the number of women that have had miscarriages and stillbirths during that time of the water switch. And so I am not willing to do a quick and cheap fix.
Mari, how's it going with the water in Flint now? Are you drinking it? Is everybody bathing in it? How do you feel about it? Nope.
No, I haven't told anybody to drink the
it.
water
Okay.
yet.
Had to ask. Okay.
No.
All right.
Because one of the things I said is I'm not signing off on the water yet. So while we're changing pipes, the water's testing good, one of the things the EPA has said is while you have this amount of construction going on, you still have a public health issue. And so we are to stay on bottled and filtered water until we get through this and our health community signs off. So I know she wasn't going to say she was drinking the water.
But things are better. Tell me how things are better then. You can take a bath in it, right? Shower in it. Can you cook with it? Right?
No, you can't
Not
cook.
cook.
Can't. Okay.
You gotta use bottled water. You can take a shower in it, but it can't be like for long. It'd be like 2 or 3 minutes. Then you have to get out. You can't really take a bath inside of it. Only if you want to take a bath, then you have to get jugs of water, warm them up, and then drag them all the way upstairs or wherever your bathtub is, and then pour the water inside your bathtub if you want to take a bubble bath or just a bath.
So it's still a lot of work, even though things are better. It's not fixed yet. But you've made a lot of progress. How do you feel about the difference? I mean, you've been able to make, you have really become a nationally known figure through this. I mean, I know you have more Twitter followers than me. That's for sure. And you have to read what it says. Her Twitter description reads, activist, philanthropist, future president?
Uh-huh.
All right, fill us in on that. Fill us in. What's going on? You've declared? What year? What are we looking at?
2044.
2044. All right. You heard it here first. How does that make you feel? Well, I mean, I guess what I'm saying, kids can make a difference. A lot of people think, even grown-ups think, hey, I'm just one person. What can I do? And what do you tell people? One person. What? What do you tell other kids who think they can't make a difference?
That they can change the world.
Yeah, because you are, huh? And Mayor, I wanted to ask you about that because, in a way, what's happened in Flint is changing the world, at least in the United States. Since the incident in Flint, since the water contamination, the GAOs found that in 2016 and 2017, 43% of the schools in our country have had their lead tested, and 37% found elevated lead. I mean, your city has been through hell, but you've really opened the eyes of the country to this crisis, and maybe you're saving lives.
Well, I hope so. I hope so. One of the things I've said is it's sad, but it's true that we can't take our water quality standards for granted. And people have to question. You know, we have to, and that's what we've learned. We've also learned the value of maintaining and investing in infrastructure because we've got this aging infrastructure all across our country. And I've also said, please don't let us go through this crisis and not learn from us. You know, use us because we know that we represent so many other cities across this country. So please learn from Flint. Don't have us go through this and you didn't learn anything from what happened. So it makes me feel good that people are questioning, that people are testing because when the state was ready to leave the city of Flint, they had not tested our schools and legally they didn't have a responsibility to. And I said, how can you not test our schools where our kids are? And they wanted to do a one-and-done testing and be gone. And we said, no, we cannot allow that to happen. And so I'm glad that they are paying attention and they are looking at what's going on in their schools because we know that kids are our most vulnerable population when it comes to lead and water. We know that our seniors are. So people are waking up and paying attention. And for that, I'm really, really grateful. But can I say something about Mari, please? Because you were talking about kids can make a difference. And I think I did it I tweeted you, but I wanted to really congratulate her because Ebony recognized her for being a voice for young people, not just for young people in the city of Flint, but all across the country. And one thing we've learned through this water crisis is it doesn't matter if you're young or old. One voice can make a difference. And if people would use their voice, they could really see some change. So I just think that's important to let people know that.
Mari, I heard you using your voice in a recent speech, and I love what you said. You said, nobody seemed to be listening to the adults. I knew that eventually they'd listen to me. Why?
Because adults don't listen to adults very well, and some kids don't listen to kids very well. So what if an adult listened to a kid? So all the adults listen to me.
And why did you know that they would?
Because I'm a kid and that...
Because you were someone really impacted by this, right? You're speaking from experience, huh? Huh? Your voice is special. And before we go to questions, Mayor, I know that even though we saw so many schools now getting their lead treated, you mentioned, you do have to question the quality of your water. And
Yes.
the EPA has found that I think we have still 6.1 million lead service lines in use across the country. So is this really maybe just the tip of the iceberg?
Probably so. Probably so, because that's what we've talked about is Flint is not the only Flint. It really isn't, especially when you do have this aging infrastructure and there has been no investment in it. And if you look at the standards that have been put in place as far as the lead and copper rule, it's old, it's outdated, and that's what people need to look at. We really wanted to get it lower than what it is because it was 15. And we wanted to go, because we know no lead is good lead, is a good amount, and we wanted to go lower. The state went to 12, which is the lowest, and we're thinking 12, that's the lowest. This is really sad. So that's what we have to be about, and we have to use our voice to push that issue and have people look at that. It's because it is the tip of the iceberg. I do believe that. I do believe that.
All right, let's go to questions from the audience, and if you would, do we have one back here? All right, stand up and tell us who you are, please.
Hey there, I'm Zach Sadow from Barclays. Thank you both for being here. Mayor, could you talk about if there's any change in the appetite for private investment and water infrastructure in Flint?
If there's any change for
Investor appetite?
investor appetite,
Private investment. He said private investment in
Infrastructure.
in the infrastructure.
the infrastructure for the entire city of Flint? Is that what you mean?
Water infrastructure and
Water-
related infrastructure as well.
Well, right now I can tell you what we're doing is we're always looking to see how, who we can work with, who we can partner with. I do want to say that. Right, and that's what our next move will be, to look at what we do, because right now, like I said, we wanted to make sure we got all of those identified lead service lines, but then after we finish those, we want to move to the rest of the infrastructure throughout the entire city of Flint, because one thing we know is that in its heyday, Flint was over 200,000 people, and we have an infrastructure that was built for 250,000 plus people because General Motors was there, and so now we do have an opportunity to right-size the infrastructure, and looking at how we're going to make that happen is what we're doing right now.
More questions? Over here.
Hi, I want to thank you both for coming today and having this conference with the Atlantic. I have two related questions. One, a speaker earlier talked about market forces and bad governance as part of the problem in the global south with water issues. How would you respond to that criticism when it comes to the U.S. in your situation, understanding that you've been told that you need to price the water correctly? The second question is, how has your relationship changed with one of the sponsors of this event, which is Nestle, in regards to their pumping of groundwater at no additional cost while you're still trying to find good water for young children like the ones next to you today?
Ask me
Interesting questions.
what was the first?
The first one
Was about the cost of water.
Market forces and bad governance as it relates to us versus the global south.
You know
because
what?
the people of Flint currently pay, and I guess
That, and you know what? That's
pay the highest
right, and
price
that's
for
what our water
in the
issue
country,
was
right?
at first. When this issue first started, our water issue was the cost, and because we were paying 8 times the national average, so that was how this all started. Was the cost of water, and then we started finding out that there was bacteria in the water, and then the switch happened, and then lead was in the water. But that was exactly what was going on, and that's what we're looking at now, because, and that's what part of our fight was. We were still paying 8 times the national average, and we were paying for poisoned water at that time.
Paying to who you paying the bill to? Is it to the state?
I mean, it's the bill goes to the city of Flint.
City, okay.
It was state oversight, and we knew that our water rates had been raised illegally because we had emergency managers that had taken over the city of Flint, and that had been in place for 6 years before I got into office. And one of the things with emergency managers is they're really not looking at bringing revenue into the city. They're not looking at opportunities for economic growth for the city. They're looking to cut, and they're putting cost above everything. And so that's what we were fighting for, and we're still fighting about that, and that's what we're looking at is ways to be able to reduce that. And it's interesting because one of the things you're talking about government, the state really wanted us to go up on our water bill. They still wanted us to go up. We were having that conversation, and that's been another one of the fights we've been having with the state as far as we're not going to raise the water bill. Are you kidding me? We're just getting back to a place where we're getting the pipes changed and the water is testing better, but we know that the infrastructure, the plumbing in the homes is still an issue, and it's a challenge. And so we have people whose homes will still test high for lead because the in-home plumbing has been damaged. We're fighting them to get them to pay for that because they only replaced 4,000 that first year, and they have not lived up to their responsibility there. So that's something that we're always looking at, water rates and how we can, right now we've maintained them, but if there is a way for us to even go down on those water rates, that's what we're looking at. And we've been meeting with different people and different agencies, and even the philanthropic community has come in to say, how can we work together to make sure this does not continue, and it certainly cannot go up in the city of Flint.
Did you have thoughts on the second aspect of his question about Nestle?
So to the author's question before, you're saying that market forces don't always correct for everyone.
No.
And did you want to answer the second part of his
Second
question about
was
Nestle?
About Nestle. Well, you know what? I know there's been that issue, and I've kind of stayed out of that. They've said, well, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? But
Well, it's 120 miles away where they're getting the water. It's
but
not
one
in
thing
Flint.
I do have to acknowledge is the state pulled out on us. The state told us they were going to keep those help centers open for us until we got through this lead service line replacement, and they didn't. They stood in front of our community and said that this would happen. They knew that the EPA was not going to lift this ban, and they took away the bottled water from the citizens of the people of Flint. And so when we did need those help centers to stay open, that was who came and is continuing to keep the help centers open for the residents of the city of Flint. I told them, I said, and they're in a tough spot. It's a tough spot to be in because you are going to take criticism for that. And people would say, well, you should be, they should be giving the people of the city of Flint water. Well, when they are giving the people of the city of Flint water, you're getting criticized as well. And you know what my goal and my responsibility is not that. My responsibility is to be about the people, get the people the resources that we need and that we deserve as a result of what happened. And so that's where I stay focused. I have to stay focused on what I was elected to do and what my role is. And it's to be the voice for the people and making sure we get everything that we deserve as a result of what happened.
Mayor, before we go, I did want to ask you, how long do you think it will be? Can you give us a prediction when people will be able to drink the water that comes out of the taps in Flint, Michigan?
Well, you know what? We've been told by the state we can drink it now. I'm not buying that because, like I said, I know the EPA has said while you have this going on, you still have a public health risk. And so I want all of the pipes changed, and then the pipes that have been said to be copper to copper, I want to check just to make sure, because they told me this other block was going to be copper to copper, and we found 3 that weren't. So I want to make sure we get those 18,000 that were identified out of the way, and then I want to check the rest of the city of Flint because we got to get rid of this, and we want our public health community, our physicians, our scientists, our people that we trust to give us the okay, and then I'll sign off. So when that happens, it'll be a big announcement.
Trust is another victim of this crisis. And Mari, we'll give you the last word. What would you like to tell the people of the country about water and the importance of it and having clean water?
That Flint isn't alone and that there's other states and countries that have bad water just like us, or even higher levels of probably lead water, like really, really, really dirty water.
All right. Well, I hope, Mari, you'll be able to take a bubble bath really soon. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mayor Weaver.
Thank you.
Thank you for your questions.